My neighbor demanded I follow her pool rules in my own yard, and now she's furious that I won't let her use it. I refuse to back down, and the neighborhood drama is exploding. So I, 34M, live in a suburban neighborhood with a decent-sized backyard and a pool. I've always been friendly with my neighbors, including Karen, mid-40s F, who moved in next door about a year ago. She seemed nice at first, but as time went on, she started to show her true colors. So over the summer, Karen started coming over with her kids, asking if they could use the pool. So at first, I didn't mind because I was usually outside anyway, and the kids seemed to enjoy it. Soon, things got weird. Karen began showing up unannounced, sometimes even when I wasn't home, and I caught her using the pool without my permission. So one day I came home to find Karen and several of her friends having a full-on pool party in my backyard, complete with snacks, music, and pool floats. I confronted her, and she acted like it was no big deal, saying, "Oh, you weren't using it," so I figured it was fine. I told her politely but firmly that she needed to ask before coming over, and that I wasn't comfortable with her, just assuming she could use the pool whenever. It copped. Karen seemed annoyed but agreed to follow the rules. Then, last week, she took things to a whole new level. Karen knocked on my door with a typed-up list of pool rules that she wanted me to follow. So her list included things like no swimming after 5 p.m. because her kids have a strict bedtime. No loud music when her family is outside. Mandatory weekend access for her and her kids, but only for their exclusive use. I thought she was joking at first, but she was dead serious. I laughed and told her there was no way I was following any of her rules for my pool. Karen got angry and called me selfish, saying that I was ruining the neighborhood spirit and being unfair to the kids. Now she's been spreading rumors to other neighbors that I'm a bad guy for not sharing the pool. Some of the neighbors have even said I should just let it go to avoid drama. But I feel like this is insane. It's my pool, and she's acting like she owns it. Next story.
My coworker called me lazy for not having kids, then demanded I cover her shifts. I refused to give in, and now the workplace tension is at an all-time high. I, 28F, work full-time in retail, and as anyone who's worked retail knows, it can be pretty exhausting. I've got a busy life outside of work, trying to balance my hobbies, taking care of my apartment, seeing friends, and just taking care of myself. You know, normal adult stuff. I don't have kids, but that doesn't mean I'm lounging around with endless free time. One of my coworkers, Sarah, 32F, has 2 young kids. She's always asking people to cover her shifts, which I understand because being a mom is hard and things come up. Over the past year, I've covered for her quite a few times when she had to leave early or couldn't make it in because of some kid emergency. I did it out of kindness because I get that life can be unpredictable, and I wanted to help her out. But I've started to notice that I'm one of the only ones she asks to help cover her shifts. It's like she expects me to do it, just because I don't have the same responsibilities as her. Last week, she asked me again to cover for her because her kid had a school event. Normally, I'd try to help, but I already had plans to spend the day with my sister, who I hadn't seen in a while. I told Sarah I couldn't this time, and she just sighed and said, "Must be nice to have all that free time. You don't have kids, so it's not like you're busy with anything important." I was pretty taken aback. I told her, just because I don't have kids doesn't mean I don't have a life. My time is important too. She kind of rolled her eyes and walked away, but I could tell she wasn't happy with me. Now she's been telling our other coworkers that I'm selfish and don't understand how hard it is to be a mom. A couple of them have started acting a bit distant toward me, and I overheard one of them saying something like, "She has it easy, no wonder she doesn't get it." I didn't realize not having kids made me less deserving of respect at work. What really gets me is that I've always tried to help when I could, but just because I don't have kids doesn't mean my life is suddenly stress-free or that I can drop everything at a moment's notice. I feel like Sarah doesn't respect my time at all, and that really bothers me. I ended up mentioning it to my manager, hoping for a little understanding, but they just said it's a personal conflict and didn't want to get involved. So now I'm stuck feeling like the bad guy because I said no for once. I honestly don't think it's fair to expect me to cover her shifts all the time, just because I don't have children. I have responsibilities too, and I deserve to have a life outside of work. But some of my coworkers seem to think I should be helping out more because Sarah's a mom and I'm not. Am I being selfish here? Ata for finally standing my ground and refusing to cover her shifts after she basically called me lazy.
Next story. Kike story, huh?
My future Elle insists on a large wedding, but I told her she can pay for it if she wants it badly. Now there's tension. Was I wrong to stand my ground? I recently got engaged to my fiancé Ariane. He was actually my high school sweetheart, but we broke up during college and have been back together for the past 7 years. Some context is that I am the youngest of 3 girls. My parents are both doctors, and they have done quite well for themselves. I think my future in-laws think they're much wealthier than they actually are. Most of their money has gone into mine and my sister's educations, and so they still have to think about money and how much they're spending. My parents were kind enough to pay for my private college, but I had to cover law school on my own. I still have close to $100,000 to pay off. I make good money now and will be able to pay it off on my own, but also, Ryan and I want to buy a house and have children, and so the debt is stressful. Also, a sizable percent of my salary for the past several years has gone towards paying off my debt. My dad pulled me aside when I got engaged and told me that he set aside $75,000 for each of his daughters for weddings. Then my oldest sister had a huge, fancy wedding and spent most of the money on a ceremony. So my other sister had a modest wedding and put the rest of the money towards a down payment on a house. My dad basically said the money is mine to do what I want, whether I want to spend it all in a wedding or put all of it towards my student loans or something else. So I spoke to Ryan about this, and we agreed that I should put all of the money towards my student loans. So neither of us care about having a huge wedding, and we'd much rather get my debt paid off quickly so we could start saving for a house. My parents think this is a smart decision and are happy I'm using the money sensibly. They also know I've never been someone who cared about having a fancy wedding and always thought I'd use the money for something else. And when I told Ryan's parents that we're going to do a courthouse wedding, my future in-law Jan was upset. And Jan said that my oldest sister had a beautiful wedding and asked why I didn't want the same. I explained the situation to her and that I'd rather put the money my parents set aside towards my loans and have a small celebration with our close family and friends. And when I say small, I mean our parents, siblings, 1 or 2 close friends, and that's it. To be honest, if it was up to me, I just want it to be me and Ryan. But I think both of our families would be hurt by this. And so I want to include at least parents and siblings. Jan told Ryan and I that we were being selfish, since weddings are about uniting families and celebrating with loved ones, and we're putting our needs before that. She also said that we're both attorneys and aren't exactly struggling to pay the bills. She asked if we'd consider putting half of the money towards a ceremony and half of it towards my loans, and we said no. And she then started saying that she had a ton of relatives who wanted to be included in the ceremony and will be disappointed that they don't get to see Ryan get married. Ryan told his mom she was being a hypocrite since she literally eloped and didn't include her family in the ceremony. Jan started crying and saying it was a huge mistake to not have her family there, and she didn't want Ryan to make the same mistake. I stepped in and told Jan that if she wanted to pay for a wedding where all of her relatives would be included, then Ryan and I would be happy to take her up on it, but the money would have to come from her since she's the one who cares about us having a large wedding. So this upset Jan, and she told me that the woman's family is supposed to pay for the wedding. She said that it's selfish that 2 doctors wouldn't help with my student loans and also pay for a ceremony. This set me off since my parents have been extremely generous with me, including paying 100% of my undergrad tuition. I told Jan that my parents have worked hard for my sisters, and I to have everything we needed growing up, and to pay for our educations, and I don't feel right asking them to contribute to a fancy ceremony on top of everything they've already given me. Ryan was furious and told his mom that he doesn't want her at our wedding if she's going to act like this. We ended up leaving, and Ryan hadn't spoken to his mom since. I talked to my oldest sister, and she thinks I'm being selfish too. She says I should put some of the money towards a wedding and some of it towards my loans so our families could enjoy the special occasion. But I've never wanted a big wedding, and I'm stressed about my loans and just want them paid off.